Hey y'all, welcome back to Krista's Kitchen. So it's that time again. We need a quick weeknight meal to get in the oven, something simple to get dinner on the table. So we're going to make some Parmesan chicken and some roasted beets and carrots. The thing that takes the longest is the chicken, so we're going to go ahead and get started on it. I have 4 fairly large chicken breasts that I kind of butterflied, but I really just cut through the thickest parts of it so that I could get it kind of evenly spaced out. So you want about 4 large chicken breasts for this. Really, you can use as many chicken breasts as you need, but just know that the measurements are to coat about this much. So you want about 1/2 cup of Parmesan cheese. I don't have plain Parmesan, I have the Sam's Club blend, so that's what I'm using. And this is what I always use. So 1/2 cup of the cheese, about 1/2 cup of mayo. I like Blue Plate because it's local, but you can really use whatever type of mayo you like. You can even use Miracle Whip. I grew up eating Miracle Whip. I know some people, that is a completely different type of mayonnaise, but it works. So just put our 1/2 cup in there. Now we do have the oven heating to 400 degrees. This is going to cook in a 2-step process. So the first step, we're going to put all of our mixture on it. So we've got 1/2 cup of cheese, 1/2 cup of mayo, and about 1/2 teaspoon, it's just sprinkling or so, of lemon pepper. My lemon pepper is still clumped. I don't know why I didn't break up the clumps yesterday. And about a teaspoon or so of garlic powder. Now, this is our first step. It's our little mixture that we're going to coat on top of the chicken. And we'll get it baking in the oven for 20 minutes on this first step. You see, very simple, but it's going to be super juicy and super flavorful. So we're going to take our salt and pepper and just salt and pepper the top side. Now we will season the underside when it comes out, and we have an extra layer of seasoning and stuff going on top of it. But I just like, I don't know, there's just something wrong, seems, with starting with bland chicken or unseasoned chicken. Leave those there, and you just kind of divide up your topping. And you want to try and do it as evenly as you can. These might be a little bit larger than usual, so I may make some extra, but it probably will work. So we're just spreading it out on top of our chicken. And just kind of pat it all around. Oven's preheated. And again, it's at 400 degrees right now. And you just want it all over it. We're going to get this in the oven, and we're going to come back and work on our beets and carrots. Just 1 second. So we're all done with these parts. I did spray the bottom of that pan also. Sometimes I'll use aluminum foil, but it really just depends on my mood. The second step of that chicken will be adding some breadcrumbs on top to give it another layer of seasoning and another layer of crunch. In total, the chicken ends up cooking about 35-40 minutes. Again, this is always dependent on thickness of your type of meat. So we're going to spray our pan. And I'm going to grab some olive oil really quick. So this is actually a new recipe for me. I have never cooked beets. I've never eaten beets that I'm aware of. I mean, I'm sure as a child I could have eaten beets. We're gonna leave those in here for a minute. But I'm not familiar with them. So figured since I got them in my Misfits box for this week, figured I'd try a new recipe. So we're gonna try it with y'all and I'll give my honest opinion of it. Now from the very get-go, I'm doing things in classic me style. I don't have pure maple syrup on hand, but I do have some local cane syrup, so we're gonna try that. We just washed and rinsed our carrots and beets already. So now we're just gonna peel this all up. The carrots also came in my Misfits box. These carrots smell good. They're very fragrant. Now, if you don't mind the extra woodsy taste of carrots, there's nothing to say that you have to peel them. I always peel them, and I like to take away that kind of woodsy taste to it. I don't usually shred up veggies into my wash basin, but the beets are leaking. After I washed them and rinsed them, they're leaking like the red kind of juices that come out of them, and I didn't want to stain my table with the juices, so that's why I'm leaving it all sitting down in the air. Now, I'm taking cues from how these carrots were chopped up on the recipe picture that I saw, so I'm going to try and stick to that same kind of size, just because I don't know how long and how well beets roast, how long it usually takes before they get soft, but I did see that the carrots were at a slightly thicker size, so we're going to kind of go with that. And I'm assuming since the beets were a smaller size than the carrots in thickness, that they take a little bit longer to cook. So we're going to see if that theory pans out. I'm really excited to try the beets. I have a friend that loves beets but hates tomatoes, and I love tomatoes, and I'm not sure about beets yet. But just trying to incorporate some different things into our regimen. And plus with our Misfits box, if there's some interesting things, I try to pick at least one new to us thing each time. We found some things that we really love that we didn't even know existed with that box, so that's nice. But just four, I know the thing said medium, but I'd call those medium to small carrots. And then 2 huge beets. So we're going to start with the one that's leaking a little bit. Now again, bear with me because I've never peeled or cut or cooked a beet. So We're gonna figure this out together. I love that color though. I do have a feeling that even though in the picture I saw from this recipe, the juices weren't, the carrots weren't stained, I don't see how the carrots won't be stained this red purple color. I'm trying to make sure I don't stain my clothes. I don't know if she roasted them separately and then combined them for the picture or what, but I don't see how this wouldn't stain everything, especially since people use it as a natural stain. And my hands are already staining. So we'll see if beets are even worth this staining mess. I have to look up the actual nutritional value to them. They're very pretty color though, very fall. And it's not hard to peel, just an awkward size, or shape I should say. One beet down, one hand stained. It's not hard to cut either. So pretty. That's so pretty. See if we can cut off this end root that I couldn't really peel around. I guess that will work too. Go down in there. Now these sizes and pieces are going to be all random shapes, so who knows? Who knows? Only way to find out is to try it and learn. We'll see how my children react to it. Sometimes they can be very excited to try new things, but typically if it's new, they're very hesitant. They know that they have to take what we call 2 no thank you bites. So if it's something new, then they have to give it at least 2 decent sized tries. We used to do 1, and I would see that they would immediately, like as soon as the food touched their tongue, they'd be like, nope, I don't like it, nope, not doing it. So they wouldn't even give it a really good try. But with making them take 2, they actually have to take the time to chew that first bite, swallow it, and then take another one. And I feel like we found more things that they find acceptable with doing it that way. They've actually found some things they love also. But now if they've tried it and we've attempted it again, especially on a second attempt, and they don't like it, I'm not going to force them. I always provide them with at least 1 to 2 things on their dinner plate that I know they'll eat. Because none of us like everything. So my personal parenting opinion is don't force your kids to eat everything. I think that's a huge reason for the weight pandemic in our society as well. Is we were always taught you have to clean your plate or clear your plate or you have to eat this. When even as adults, we don't stick to that rule very well, or it leads to other issues. So be mindful of portion sizings before you're making your child clear their plate. And provide them with things that they're going to like too. Sometimes I can mix it in with like my daughter loves cooked carrots. Now she doesn't like raw carrots at all, but she might be a little bit sad to see her favorite carrot, or she calls everything her favorite, but her carrots she loves mixed in with something else that's strange to her. But maybe this will encourage her to try it too. My children are also a little bit funny in the fact that if we call meat by like hamburger meat or ground meat, they might not eat it. But if I tell them this is cow, for some reason that's comforting to them. And the same thing, my daughter swears she doesn't like ham, But if you call it bacon ham, she knows that she likes bacon, and she'll ask, can I have a pizza with bacon ham, which is just regular ham. So, not that I want to tell them stories, but I do want them trying new things and being open-minded to it. Which I think my children have pretty good variety in what they eat. Definitely not the typical stuff that I see. But at the same time, if you put a bowl of candy in front of my daughter, she will devour it. No questions asked. My son, on the other hand, give him about 8 pounds of avocado, oranges, and raspberries, and he'll never bother you again. When we go to eat sushi, he orders at least 4 plates of avocado. That child's going to turn into an avocado. Thank y'all for sitting here and listening to me ramble, if you're still with me. This beet. So the chicken goes in the oven for 20 minutes. I'll be curious to see how long of that 20 it takes me to peel this beet. Now this one is a much odder shape than the other, so I don't know if it's it was getting to the point where it needed to be used. It just came in my box today, so I definitely don't think that there's anything wrong with it. It doesn't look like there's anything wrong with it. But these little parts make me think like those aren't fresh parts. I need to study up on my beetology. That's good enough. I'm just going to slice that off. Now my beet to carrot ratio seems to be off, and maybe it's just because these are ginormous beets. Or maybe the lady that made this recipe just really likes beets. I don't know. I still can't get over how pretty that color is. I'm curious to see what my hands look like after I wash them though. Now I see why some people use beets as a staining agent. It works easily, that's for sure. I probably shouldn't have used one of my favorite cutting boards for this though. You live and learn. You live and learn. I did expect it to be much harder to cut. It's a pain in the rump to peel, but cutting wise, it's not bad. So I'm trying to do some fairly even pieces, but it's not going to be even. This is an odd shaped thing. I should have squared it up a little bit more, but it'll be alright. It's not baking. Baking is a lot more specific. Cooking, change it to what you need. Did y'all see that? Just threw it clear across the table. But baking is a lot more specific in what it's going to be. Beautiful thing about roasting, I love roasting. Like, to me, I don't feel like you can mess it up. Maybe that's why I love it. It's very hard to mess up. And you don't have to, at least in my opinion, you don't have to add a ton of stuff to things you're going to roast to bring out the best flavors of it. This is just cracking me up. I wonder what my patients will say tomorrow. So I thought we were doing roasted veggies, but it seems like we're doing roasted beets. This is a lot. I'm gonna grab a towel. So I've been chopping and talking and didn't realize that my camera turned off. I don't know where I lost y'all, so I'll find out and I'll kind of piece it back together. But we cut up our carrots and our beets. I made a mess throwing beets at y'all and found out beets are a very, very good staining agent. But all we did is chop up the carrots and the beets, put them on the pan. I'm going to add a little bit of olive oil, salt and pepper, and kind of zhuzh them around. And we're going to put them in the oven at about 425. Well, not at about, at 425 for about 10-15 minutes. I'm learning with this recipe. This is this is brand new. I've never made beets before. So I'm going to be checking on them probably not every 5 minutes, but at least 10 minutes in, I'm going to check and see if they're fork tender and kind of go from there. But I'm expecting maybe about 15 minutes in this first round of cooking. This one is a 2-round thing also, but the last round is only 5 minutes. Oh, my hands are cracking me up. So, salt. Where I think y'all cut off earlier, I was saying that I feel like roasting a veggie is the easiest way to really bring out the flavors, test it, see if you're going to like it or if you're not. I feel like roasting it with a little bit of salt, maybe pepper, some olive oil until they're fork tender, and taste testing it. Mix different seasonings in with that point. If you want to take a portion of it, do just salt and pepper. A portion with some olive oil with it too, because you want to do something to kind of help it crisp up and cook. But maybe some Italian seasoning, maybe some onion seasonings, or even some Cajun seasoning. Like, try different things all in one pan and make fun of it, or make fun with it, and enjoy your food. Nothing says it has to be boring. If you're going to enjoy it, you're more likely to stick with it and try it again. But I will say one thing. This is beautiful. And the oven says that we've been talking for 15 minutes. So we're going to pop this in, pull the chicken out, and let them switch places. Okay, so it's been 20 minutes with the chicken in the oven. And now, I'm going to mix up our breadcrumbs. I'm going to move this chair out. I need a bigger kitchen, bigger island to cook. But mixing up my breadcrumbs to get it all spread around. And we're just going to take about a tablespoon, and you don't have to measure this, but for some reason I do. But about a tablespoon of breadcrumbs, and just put it on top of each little chicken breast to give it that extra layer of crunch. Now you could mix this in with your mayonnaise and put it on top, or just put it in your topping. Just know that you're going to have to cook your chicken that full time. You won't have to take it out or anything to do this step, but you lose some of that crunch that putting it on in this second step lends to it. The mayonnaise and the cheese will soak up all of this, and you won't get as much crunch factor. Now this breadcrumb soaks in just the same, and it won't give you a ton of crunch this way either, but I feel like it gives more. Like, I get more texture variation with putting it and actually taking the second step. We just want to make sure all of it's coated. So we'll put this back in for about 15 minutes. Those last few minutes of it, the main thing we're wanting is for the breadcrumbs to kind of absorb and toast up, but we want the chicken to finish cooking. The juices should always run clear when you cut into it. Even if you don't see any pink, if you've got some pink in the juices, cook your chicken a little bit longer. Usually people overcook it, but this time I'm telling you, be careful with chicken. I've gotten sick from undercooked chicken before. But about 15 more minutes in the oven. Those last few minutes I'm going to pop it under the broiler to really make it that beautiful, crispy, caramelized brown. So we're going to put this back in. And we have some water boiling. We're going to make some box rice roni with it. Just an extra side to all of this. Hey y'all, welcome back. So the beets and carrots are out of the oven. They ended up being in there about 17 minutes before I felt like the beets were tender enough to come out for this next step. So in my bowl, I have 2 tablespoons of softened butter. Now really, it doesn't even have to be softened because these beets and carrots are about to go on top of them and melt it down. So I'm not scooping all of these beets into here, but I'm scooping several in just so we can mix it with the butter and top it with some syrup. Now again, this is a Canadian dish. Usually I don't trust a lot of northern dishes. Nothing against them, just we all have different tastes and things we're used to. But she suggested, or she uses pure maple syrup. And I don't have maple syrup. I should get some. But I do have some local pure cane syrup. So that's what I'm going to use. So y'all see I put my apron on also because I don't want this all over me. It's very juicy. We'll switch to something bigger. I'm not putting this on my table. These beet juices have me scared. Just so we can scoop up a little bit better. Now my hand washed up pretty good, but you can still see that even after 2 washings so far, still stained. Y'all, I'm telling you, these beet juices have me nervous. If y'all are used to beets and y'all are laughing at me, that's okay. I would be laughing at me right now too. But they definitely stained the carrots. Alright, so we're going to mix in, like I said, we have 2 tablespoons of butter down in there. We're going to do about 3 tablespoons of the syrup. Now this is closer to honey flavoring than maple flavoring. 3 hefty servings or tablespoons. Just going to kind of mix it around, and then this is going to go back in the oven for another 5-7 minutes. The beets still have a few minutes, I feel, to cook. So at that 5-minute mark, I'm going to be checking to see. Let's see if we can mix this around. But I'm hesitant to cook them any longer because I don't want to make them mushy, but I also don't want the syrup to burn. This is just what happens when you got to play with new recipes. That butter melted fast. Smoking hot veggies will do that though. And get them all mixed around. The juices are in the bottom of the pan, so it's going to spread out that sweetness anyway. But so we can make sure it gets all around. The carrots are actually kind of pretty this color. Makes me think of like rainbow carrots. And as I make a bigger mess, that's my cue to stop. So I'm going to get these in the oven and check them at about 5 minutes like she suggests, and then if not, we'll probably keep going. I feel like they're going to need closer to about 7 minutes this second cooking time. But we'll see y'all back in a few. Thank you for the world so sweet. Thank you for the food we eat. Thank you for the birds that sing. Thank you, God, for everything. Amen. All right, Sissy, serve it up.
You have Halloween shirts.
I do. We have 2 Halloween shirts.
Yeah.
So, again, I just cooked up some rice roni to go on the side, add a little starchiness to it. We have our Parmesan chicken, our beets and carrots with... Okay, baby. And you see he's already digging in. Let Sissy get it with this... Wait, Thatcher. Let Sissy get it with the spatula. There you go. Now use your fork. Just because I got a new bunch of parsley today, I felt like making it a little bit fancy and sprinkling a little on top. The beets, like I thought, ended up needing closer to about 7 minutes to really, here Sissy, come around this side for me, to really feel nice and tender all the way through. And there you go. And I did add a little more salt to the top of them. I don't feel like the syrup really did much for it, but I feel like the butter helped a little bit with the flavoring. Maybe it's because I used cane syrup instead of maple syrup. We'll see though. But hopefully you give everything a try. Oh, you wanting some of the rices? Hopefully you give it a try. Let us know what you think. If you have a tried and true beet recipe that you would like to share with me, please feel free. These were 2 huge beets that I'd gotten in my Misfits box, so really wanted to try something out and see how it all works. We're gonna finish serving it up, but we're gonna get dinner served. You see we've got hungry children, and we'll see y'all next time. Bye.
Bye.